Imagine a world where consumerism is at its highest point in history. Capitalism has become ingrained into everyone's lives, and not only isn't it going anywhere anytime soon, but it's getting worse and worse every year. Everyone is obsessed with their technology, and the new generation is struggling hard with socializing and isolation. Well, you don't have to imagine that, because that is the modern day. Without trying to sound like that cartoon with the ugly bald kid and everyone on their phones, the consequences of technology have actually become a big problem during the last 20 so years. But what if I told you that there was an album who predicted all of this and tried to warn everyone beforehand? Yes, I'm of course talking about OK Computer. There's more to this album than Computer Bad, Book Good, and I think the themes of the songs are a big reason why Radiohead became such an important band to the new generation. So, without further ado, make sure to subscribe if you're happy and joyful just like Thom Yorke, and enjoy! This is how Radiohead predicted everything with OK Computer. This is part 2 of my Radiohead series. You can go and check out part 1, but you don't need to watch it to understand this. First off, we need a bit of context for this album, so let's continue the story where I left it off on my last video. The release of The Bends. The Bends was released in 1995, aka the peak of Britpop. Still, the band managed to stand out in the middle of everything that was happening that year and actually got some good traction in the UK. Look at Little Tom on the cover of Select. They had managed to escape the haunting monstrosity that Creep was, and they established themselves as a proper guitar band. Singles like Fake Plastic Trees, High and Dry, and Street Spirit Fade Out got the album peaking at number 4 on the UK charts. The same could not be said for the other side of the ocean though. The American audience did not appreciate the lack of Creep-esque songs on the album. Luckily for them, they did a tour in '95 with REM, which helped them sustain their audience in the States. During one of the nights in this tour, all their equipment got stolen, and Tom and Johnny performed an acoustic set with rented instruments. I tried to find that set online, but it was not recorded unfortunately. Despite their misfortunes in America, the success of the Bends meant great things for the band. They had proved themselves both commercially and critically, so the label trusted them to produce their next album on their own. From a commercial standpoint, their next steps were very clear. They just needed to make the Bends too. Now, Radiohead's history is a long list of, hey, this album did good, you should probably make something like this again. And they're like, no! And then go on to make an album that'll change the world forever. Everyone said you'll sell 6 or 7 million if you bring out the Bends Part 2. And we're like, we'll kick against that and we'll do the opposite, said Ed O'Brien for Q Magazine. This is what happened with the Bends, and this is exactly what was gonna happen with OK Computer too. So Radiohead got £100,000 from their label, hired Nigel Godrich as their producer, and went to Oxfordshire to start working on their third studio album. But where did the inspiration for OK Computer start? It started in 1995 with the Help album. For anyone who doesn't know, the Help album was a charity album made to raise funds for the War Child Charity, a charity that helped children in war-stricken areas, specifically Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1995. Goddamn Serbs. This album featured artists like Paul McCartney, Blur, Oasis, The Stone Roses, and more. So Brian Eno had commissioned Radiohead for this album, and the challenge was that they had to record a song in one day. Radiohead got their new trusted producer Nigel Godrich and recorded Lucky in just 5 hours. This was the first brick on the wall that was going to become OK Computer. Lucky was indicative of what we wanted to do. It was like the first mark on the wall, said Thom Yorke. Now, what does Lucky actually talk about? Lucky actually sets a theme for the whole album, and it's directly tied to the opening song. Both Airbag and Lucky talk about an accident. The difference is that Lucky has a positive approach to it.
You know, the big thing for me is that we could really fall back on just doing another moribund, miserable, morbid and negative record, like lyrically. But I really didn't want to do that at all. So I'm just writing down all the positive things that I hear or see, but I'm not able to put that into music yet.
So Tom wanted to start off this album positively, or as positively as a Radiohead album can get. The first words he says on this song are, I love gambling! Soon we find out that Tom is feeling like this because he just escaped death. I'm gonna say Tom instead of the protagonist, by the way, because it gets a little bit annoying. Just know that with Tom, I mean the main character in the song, not Thom Yorke himself. The song continues with him saying, "Kill me, Sarah, kill me There's two interpretations for the song, and this part in particular. One is that Thom feels obligated to appreciate everything he has in life, and he's lucky to live like this. You know, think of all the children in Africa and whatnot. Still, he doesn't feel any of this, and his life is just miserable. Every mention of luck in the song is ironic, and he's asking the love of his life to end all the pain for him. The day when she does this is gonna be a glorious day. Now, the other interpretation is more likely, seeing how Thom wanted to be positive in this record. The song is actually the other way around, and it talks about Thom's life being miserable before this accident. But now that he got another chance in life, he wants to appreciate everything. He wants to love and he wants to live. He's gonna become the happy wanderer. Despite him being positive, Lucky shows us that the world around him is going to a bad place. The president himself is calling for him. There are crashes and drownings and all sorts of accidents he's going through, almost like a type of apocalypse. Still, Thom feels lucky to have survived all of this and just wants to save his love. This dystopian apocalyptic feeling slowly becomes the main theme of this album, and Thom sure as hell doesn't keep the positivity. I was gonna segue from this song right to Airbag, but I just want to mention, by the way, Thom Yorke almost refused to put this song on the charity album because, quote, the other bands in it almost put us off. The other bands being probably Oasis. Almost cancelling a charity album for kids dying in war because you don't like Liam Gallagher. Thom used to and continues to be a fucking prick.
Come up here.
Tell Santa what you want for Christmas.
Come up on the fucking stage.
Tell me what you want.
Don't stand there like a coward. Come here and say it.
I just want to talk about OK Computer as a separate entity in this video. Anyways, Airbag. This song was originally titled Last Night An Airbag Saved My Life, which was a reference to both a car advert and the 80s song Last Night A DJ Saved My Life. We wanted it to be like Planet Telex of the Bends, a start that's not really anything like the rest of the album, set calling for Melody Maker in 97. Airbag has the same, let's say, plot point as Lucky, except two main differences. Three if you count the lack of gambling on this song. One, the song was actually based on an actual accident Thom had with his girlfriend when he was younger. The lyrics talk about how he felt right after that accident, and this feeling of getting a second chance and saving everyone carries on to this track as well. Now, the second difference between this and Lucky is the mention of technology. An airbag saves his life, meaning that technology has become so ingrained to his day-to-day life that he can't live without it. He would literally not have a life without it. Seeing how I'm a YouTuber and an editor and I'm on my PC all day, I don't relate to this part at all. Airbag serves as both the beginning and the end of this album. Yes, it starts off Thom's realization about everything and it's a second chance at life, but at the same time, it continues the story after Thom's tragic ending on No Surprises. It almost becomes a loop of dying and being born again and again, which just adds to the dystopian feeling of this album. Also, just like me with my YouTube thing, there's a lot of people out there who have built their whole lives and careers using technology. Thom knew that computers were gonna play a much more important role in everyone's lives, and sooner or later, people were gonna become completely dependent on them. Not just for their careers, but for everything in their lives. Since we're talking about being dependent on technology like losers, join my Discord server. There's a bunch of Radiohead fans there, and it's really good. This fixation on technology carries on to the second track of OK Computer, Paranoid Android. Paranoid Android is considered by some as the Bohemian Rhapsody of Radiohead, except Paranoid Android is actually good. Besides Bohemian Rhapsody, the band has cited Happiness is a Warm Gun by the Beatles as an inspiration for this combination of three different songs into one. But what does Paranoid Android actually talk about? Well, the title of the song is actually taken from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In this book, there's a character called Marvin the Paranoid Android. Martin is a sort of half joke by Thom to describe the protagonist of the song. In the show, Marvin is incredibly bored and depressed because he has a brain the size of the planet, but he's forced to do meaningless tasks all day. Marvin hates his life and hates the corporation that created him. From here, you can easily see how Thom uses his character as an allegory for the working class and capitalism. But except Marvin, there's one more thing that inspired Thom to write the song, and that is obnoxious rich people in LA. Just like you can see in the music video, one night Thom decided to go into a bar in LA, and the people he met in that place actually made him rethink everything about God.
Everyone was trying to get something out of me. I felt like my own self was collapsing in the presence of it. But I also felt completely, utterly part of it. Like it was all going to come crashing down any minute.
The people he met at this bar left him so shocked that it made him wake up one night and write the lyrics to Paranoid Android at 5 in the morning. The song starts with Thom saying, "Please could you stop the noise, I'm trying to get some rest." The noise is the voices Thom has in his head. These voices are tormenting him and making him feel things that he knows he shouldn't feel. From all the unborn chicken voices in my head. Unborn Chicken talks about these cowardly ideas coming into his head. He wants to get revenge on everyone. At the same time, these voices are also the people around him that make him feel so useless and angry. Specifically, the voices he heard on that night in LA. This is what Thom said when asked about the meaning of Paranoid Android.
It's about being exposed to God. I don't know. It was that one night, really. We'd been rehearsing the song for months, but the lyrics literally came to me at 5 o'clock that morning. I was trying to sleep, and I literally heard these voices that wouldn't leave me alone. They were the voices of the people that I'd heard in the bar. It turned out to be a notorious coke-themed place, but I didn't know that. Basically, it's just about chaos, utter fucking chaos.
The next lines of the song are taken directly from Hitchhiker's Galaxy, with Marvin saying, but what most people don't know is that the next line is also taken from Hitchhiker's Galaxy. Marvin wants to rebel against the corporation that created him and made him feel so miserable. With this line, Thom talks about both God and capitalism. He wants to rebel against his creator and punish him for giving him this life. This anger towards God continues during the end of the song as well. But at the same time, he's also talking about the greedy people around him, the corporate overlords that control his life. There will be a day where Thom will have power over them, and he'll make them pay for how they treated him. The line, "with your opinion, which is of no consequence at all," is actually ironic. Thom wants to believe that he doesn't care what the people around him say, but it's his opinion that doesn't actually matter to them. A very Morrissey-inspired line, if you'd ask me. After that, the song differentiates itself from Marvin because Thom chooses to listen to his angry feelings and gets revenge on everyone. He talks about how their ambition, or as we put it, greed, makes them look ugly. The Gucci Little Piggy line was also directly inspired by his night in LA.
There's a woman opposite me, as socially anorexic as a poodle. She looks desolate in her makeup and lost eyes. Next to her, her boyfriend is persuading a younger fleshed, half his age stewardess to come back to the hill to their mansion to sample his wine. She looks at him like he's a character in a Hammer House horror. One of our friends spills a glass of wine over a vacuum-packed Gucci outfit with matching white handbag. The witch goes crazy. We think it is funny until we see the evil in her eyes. My friend is asked to leave. The Gucci creature is the closest thing I've seen to the devil. The woman's possessed. I cannot sleep that night without asking what we've got ourselves into.
And then Thom says, he talks about being forgotten by everyone, being seen as just a tool for corporate overlords to make a profit out of him, but he's gonna make them pay pretty soon. I don't think I need to explain why people still feel like this 25 years later, but like capitalism bad. Right after he says that, we get to the other part of the song, the end of everything. This part is inspired by Noah's Ark and it's used to describe Thom's desire for revenge. He wants to clean everything up and get rid of all the scum. He continues to talk about this rain and he starts describing everything around him. The dust, the screaming, the yuppies networking, the panic, the vomit. The android has finally gotten his revenge and the last lines of the song say, This This part can be both fearful and sarcastic at the same time. Thom is terrified of what God is doing to the people. He thinks to himself, is this the way he loves his children? But also, he says God loves his children. Yeah, sure. He has lost hope in a God, and even if he thinks there's a God out there, he's convinced that this God doesn't love him. Because if he did, Thom wouldn't have to go through all of this. The song ends with an epic guitar solo from Johnny Greenwood. Next, we have what I think is the most underrated song of this album, Subterranean, Homesick Alien. Despite this being kind of like a joke song, for some reason this track in particular stuck with me more than everything else. I even tried to use it on a short movie I made. Musically, the song is a homage to Bob Dylan, but what the band was really trying to capture was the sound of Miles Davis' Bitches Brew, an album that was very influential to the making of OK Computer. So they ended up with this very sci-fi futuristic sound that fits the lyrics of the song very well. I think lyrically, if you remove all the sci-fi elements, this track kind of reminds me of a Smiths song. The idea is that Thom sees himself as an alien, as an outcast to his society.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
So he writes this song from the perspective of an alien. What do they think of our lives if they randomly stumbled upon our planet? The idea of aliens watching our lives is something that he had been thinking about since he was a little kid.
Actually, a lot of the song stems from the idea of when I was at school. The first essay I wrote was, you're an alien from another planet. You've landed and you're standing in the middle of Oxford. What do you see? If you're an alien from another planet, how would you see these people?
So Thom more or less sees himself as an alien, as a spectator to the world instead of someone who's actually living in it. I think for me that's why the song became so special, because not only is it a commentary on society, but also it talks about feeling like a spectator in your own world. You never really live life peacefully, you're always trying to make some weird sense to it, and then you end up spectating more than living. Anyways, let's see what the aliens think of our world. We get into the song directly talking about an issue which has only gotten worse since the album was released: pollution and global warming. Thom talks about how he misses summer and the smell of fresh air. He wants his world to get better, but the people around him do not seem to care. 25 years later, Republicans keep publicly denying that global warming is a problem and the fact that it's getting worse every year.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater, right? Which, let's say all of that happens. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem! Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
The next line then talks about the lack of socialization in his town.
You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement.
Okay, now he actually went full bald kid animation, but I like how subtle this line is. People look down on the pavement instead of talking to each other. Everyone has become so much colder now. With smartphones, this line has aged even better. Thom describes these feelings of loneliness and isolation in a way that you don't realize at first, but soon it becomes the main point of the song. After that, we get to the alien part of the story.
Up above, aliens hover, making home movies for the folks back home.
The aliens come into our world and make home movies to show to the aliens back home and to laugh at us.
You gotta give him that glorp bleep on that thing, you give me?
Why do humans lock up their spirits and just live these dull lives with no purpose? They're obsessed with meaningless things in life like alcohol, drugs, shit food, gossip. They're so uptight. Uptight also talks about how people see Thom himself, but that gets brought up later. Thom gets abducted by the aliens and now sees the world in a different way. He tries to tell his friends about all of this, but nobody believes him. I love the way Thom delivers this line, by the way. He isn't trying to convince his friends that aliens exist, he's trying to convince them for a better life. He wants them to wake up and realize who's actually ruling their lives, but they never do that. Obviously, this part talks about class consciousness, which has been a problem for decades, but the recent example of this is the of the United Healthcare CEO. I'm sure everyone knows the story by now, but Ben Shapiro made this video recently where he says that the left is getting dangerous because this guy shot a millionaire who scammed thousands of sick people. If you go on the video right now and check the comments, you can see that it's not only the left who was against the CEO. People are actually waking up. For now. Anyways, Thom realizes that he's not any different from his friends, and he's also changing himself to fit into their views. He doesn't want to be the outcast. At the end of the day, he's just like everyone else. After that, we get one of the most iconic Radiohead songs ever, exit music for a film. I'm not the first or the last person to say this, but this song is just fucking brilliant. During their band's tour, Baz Luhrmann commissioned the band to write a song for his new Romeo and Juliet movie. The band got to watch 30 minutes from the movie and they immediately decided to get to work. For Thom, this was another story that was special for him since he was young.
We wrote this for Romeo and Juliet. I saw the Franco Zeffirelli version when I was 13 and I cried my eyes out because I couldn't understand why the morning after they shagged, they didn't just run away. The song was written for two people who should run away before the bad stuff starts. A personal song.
From the first few notes, you realize that this song is gonna get tragic. Thom starts singing in this worried voice that only makes you feel even more uneasy. The storyline is obviously taken from Romeo and Juliet, but Thom puts his own little twist into it. He tells his love, or Juliet, to get dressed, to get ready for them to escape this world. Just like in Shakespeare's version, the couple chooses death instead of obeying their parents' rules. Here, they believe that if they die, they will reunite again in heaven. Thom says,
Before all hell breaks loose.
warning us that tragedy is about to strike. All hell will break loose. He tells Juliet that he can't do this without her. Now here is where Thom inserts himself, because this Romeo hates the people that keep him apart from Juliet. He genuinely wishes them death. He tells them that they can keep their old views. He's gonna be with Juliet in heaven. Then, 3 minutes and 20 seconds into the song, the slow build-up finally pays off. Everything has gone to shit, and there's no return. This is the end. Romeo and Juliet have died, and they wish death to anyone who didn't approve of their love. Even though it was made for Romeo and Juliet, the best use of the song was on Black Mirror with the Kenny episode.
What did you do, Kenny? They say it's kids. You've been looking at kids.
This whole album feels like it would be a Black Mirror episode on its own. Now it's time for the Bear song. If you don't know, by the way, the song started trending on TikTok after being used in the Bear Season 1 finale, and everyone started calling it underrated. But now the song has 150 million plays and it became like a joke to call it underrated. But is this song actually good? Well, believe it or not, this is another song from Thom Yorke's evil twin, Happy and Positive Thom. The lyrics start off talking about disappointment in life, feeling unfulfilled and uninspired. That clinging onto bottles line was inspired by a funny joke Thom thought of at the bar.
I was pissed in a club and I suddenly had the funniest thought I'd had for ages. What if everyone who was drinking there was hanging from the bottles? Like, the bottles were hanging from the ceiling by a string and the floor caved in, and the only thing keeping people up was the bottles. It's also about an enormous fear of being trapped.
Every time he tells a joke or a story, he reminds me of the goth kids from South Park. Anyways, after that part, we get the most important line of the song. Although not officially confirmed, this song takes a lot of inspiration from Kafka's Metamorphosis. Kafka and Thom feel uninspired. They feel like a bug who's been crushed but still keeps on living, or better yet, surviving. There's no purpose to his life, he's just counting down the seconds until his inevitable death. Kafka thinks that the world would be better off without him, but Thom on the other hand has the complete opposite idea. He finds hope and doesn't give up on life. This is the best part of the song, and the part where Thom really gives it its all. His voice sounds inspiring, and the song gives you this push to keep going and change your life. Thom didn't give up. He went from a bug crushed in the ground to growing wings and becoming a beautiful butterfly. The band thought of making the song a single, but after they saw the music video for it, they decided to scrap it, which cost them around £100,000 from their own pockets. Also, the song was recorded at 3 AM in the ballroom at St. Catherine's Court, fancy ass band. After that, we have Liam Gallagher's favorite song, Karma Police. This might be the funniest song of the band, and it's ironic how this became one of the biggest hits of the album in '97. The song is inspired by a Beatles song called Sexy Sadie. and also, believe it or not, Britpop. Now, you might think to yourself, hey, this song doesn't sound Britpoppy at all, and you'd be right, but the lyrics came from Thom's bad experiences with some Britpop bands. The song starts off with Thom saying, "Karma police, arrest this man." This was a saying that the band used to say during their tours if they had any fans who would misbehave. They'll jokingly say that the Karma police will arrest them. Then Thom talks about the state of music at the time, aka Britpop. He buzzes like a fridge, he's like a detuned radio. He thinks that the music at the time was pointless and annoying. This can also be said for the people at the time, those being celebrities and the normal folk. After that, we get the best line in the song.
Arrest this girl in line. It's making me feel it.
This was inspired by a night Thom had in 1994 at the NME Awards. Look at that beautiful haircut. The people posing with him are Justine Frischman and Brad Anderson. Those two, along with Damon Albarn, decided to make fun of Thom because of his hair, and they kicked him out of the dinner party. Thom got the line from Justine and Brad's hair, something that he confirms in this interview.
I had Justine from Elastigirl on one side and Brett from Suede on the other, and they both had Hitler haircuts, sort of going on like that.
Huge shout out to my mutual on Twitter, Ali, where I got this information from. The rest of the song continues to talk about karma, but it turns into something deeper than just some band feud. Thom says,
Karma police, giving all I can and not enough.
he talks about how unfair life can be for the average person. They can work their whole lives, but they'll still never be able to escape poverty. So they ask the karma police, or God, what more can they do? They've given all they can, but still not enough. Thom confirms this in an interview by saying, "It's for someone who has to work for a large company. This is a song against bosses. Fuck the middle management." Still, the narrator is using karma as a way to get revenge on the people who have done him wrong. Despite some of these people deserving what they get, this comes off as petty and immature, something that in my opinion makes the song even more relatable. Thom isn't trying to reach this moral high ground. He's just like everyone else, and he despises the people in his life who've done him wrong. He's not afraid to say it. He wants karma to punish them. By the end, the song completely changes with a beautiful outro to wrap up the whole thing. Thom realizes that karma can come for him too, and he's being just as hypocritical as everyone else around him. So he decides to calm down and not get angry at these people. His ego almost made him lose himself. After that mental breakdown, we get one of the most important tracks of the album, Fitter Happier. Despite it only being an interlude, in my opinion, Fitter Happier sets the whole mood of the album.
Fitter, happier, more productive, comfortable.
Even though the voice here sounds very unemotional and depressing, believe it or not, the vocals on this song are not from Thom Yorke. They're from Fred, the Apple text-to-speech personnel. The band got obsessed with how creepy and unemotional Fred sounded, and they thought he was perfect for this album. Thom himself thought that his voice was the most emotional voice he had heard in ages.
Regular exercise at the gym, getting on better with your associate employee contemporaries.
The whole song is a list Thom wrote in the 90s, a list of how a person should live their lives. There are parts here talking about getting better with your employees, insinuating that this list is actually written by higher-ups who want you to be a good employee who doesn't speak up to their bosses.
No paranoia, careful to all animals.
Later, the song starts talking about how there's no more paranoia, no more washing down spiders down the plug hole, or killing moths and putting boiling water on ants. This gives us the idea that whoever this robot is talking about had a lot of mental problems in the past, but now he seems to be fixed.
Favors for favors, fond but not in love.
This person has probably been given antidepressants or something similar to that, and now he has lost the ability to truly feel things. He only does favors if they benefit him. He has no compassion for other people and makes sure to not love people too much. This isn't just a side effect of antidepressants, but a way to show that the people around us have lost compassion for the less fortunate, something that's only become worse during the last 2 decades. Still, this person has been pumped with drugs and has essentially turned into a robot, programmed to do exactly what other people have told him to do.
On antibiotics.
Even though technically it's healthier for humans if the pig is fed antibiotics, this is not how a pig should live. It should have a happy life raised in a field. This goes for humans as well. While they've been trying to reach this perfect utopia where everything is calculated and technology makes sure to help us with everything, we've actually done the opposite and lost our spirit. Technology has only managed to make us more miserable. Now we have the least popular song of the album, Electioneering. Electioneering is pretty straightforward and also pretty political, as you can guess by the title. The song was actually inspired by the poll tax riots. The poll tax riots are a series of riots in Britain in 1990 after Margaret Thatcher introduced the community charge, aka the poll tax. If you don't know what the poll tax is, don't worry, because neither do I. I did Google it though, and it's basically a fixed tax for everyone, no matter their background. That means that it doesn't matter if you've come from a rich family and have never worked in your life, or if you work 3 jobs to raise your kids. You're all paying the same tax. Genius idea. This song isn't really liked by a lot of fans, seeing how it's completely different from the rest of the album, but me personally, I think it's nice. Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like the rest of the album, but it's a good song. It's just a fast rock song about how politicians are bad. Now, this is the part where I put a picture of this guy on the screen and try to justify the very clickbaity thumbnail, but there's actually a hidden meaning to this album. It talks about being in a band. Basically, Thom is comparing himself to a politician when he has to go out and tour with his band. While he was touring in the US, he felt like he had to lie to his fans and sell himself in order to sell the records. He felt like a politician. When you have to promote your album for a longer period, in the United States for example, you fly around from city to city for weeks to meet journalists and record company people. After a while, you feel like a politician who has to kiss babies and shake hands all day long, said Ed O'Brien. I like how energetic and catchy this song is, something that's pretty rare for Radiohead, but when they do it right. For example, 2 + 2 = 5 and Bangers plus Mash. My favorite part of this song is when Thom goes crazy on the chorus. After that, we have a haunting song with some amazing Thom Yorke vocals, Climbing Up the Walls. The band continues to drive up the energy of the sound with another energetic rock song before diving deep down into what I would call the finale of the album, No Surprises.
Both managers and record company are nervous about such a nasty sound coming out the speakers. This is a good sign.
As I said, the vocals here are top notch, but they somehow got outshined by the crazy stuff happening in the background. It's just a beautiful mess, which the band didn't seem to have a tough time creating. The white noise on the song is created by violin. But what does Climbing Up the Walls actually talk about? Well, it talks about paranoia, mental problems and loneliness, a recurring theme in Thom's lyrics. Do you know that one guy on TikTok who said that he made a song from the perspective of anxiety?
So I had this idea for a song from the perspective of anxiety. Check this out.
Well, Thom had a similar idea, even though he couldn't reach the genius of Kyle from TikTok. Thom sees anxiety as a person that's constantly haunting you. He's the key to your house and the toys in your basement, aka your deepest secrets. Anxiety and paranoia have turned into a shadowy figure that follows Thom everywhere. They're slowly shattering his mind like an ice pick breaking his ice. His depression has reached a point where he stopped talking to anyone else and he's lonelier than ever. He can't cry out or hit the alarm. He can't talk to anyone about this. Thom actually wrote the song while he was working in a mental institution, and despite it looking like he's being haunted by the people there, the song talks about his own feelings haunting him. While asked about this song in '97, Thom quoted Eric Hobsbawm from New York Times. Was it an accident that of the 10 largest mass murders in American history, 8 have occurred since 1980? Typically acts of middle-aged white men in their 30s and 40s after a prolonged period of being lonely, frustrated and full of rage, and often precipitated by catastrophe in their lives such as losing their jobs or divorce. These themes of depression and utter loneliness carry on to the next track of this album, No Surprises. Thom's Tour Diary, August 3rd, 1995, Oslo. I play everyone a new song in the dressing room, which is a toilet. It's called No Surprises Please. Colin goes nuts. Afterwards, I try to not get blind drunk, but fail miserably. Go out dancing and locate my aggressive streak on encountering a couple of Nordic males who are flexing their impotence in tracksuits. Dance it out to the Beastie Boys' Root Down. Feel much better. Even though No Surprises was probably the most safe bet of a commercial hit, and it did end up becoming the biggest hit of the album, in my opinion, this song is the climax of the album. Throughout the other 9 songs, Thom talks about everything that torments him in life, all the reasons why the world around him has gone to shit. So this song is Thom's end. Thom has lost all purpose in life. His heart is full of sorrow and pain, and he thinks there's no way out of this. His government and his job have made his life dull and unemotional. He's tired and unhappy. So Thom decides he wants a quiet life. He talks about a handshake of carbon monoxide, meaning that he's just gonna have a quick and silent way to go. But at the same time, a handshake may be seen as if he's making a deal with death. No alarms and no surprises. You'll have nothing to worry about anymore. No more paranoia or anxiety. No more shitty politicians and soulless jobs. No more anything. Now, if you watch the music video for this song, you'll notice that Thom actually survives by the end of it. And that's shown on the lyrics too. He talks about a pretty house and a pretty garden, meaning the suburban American lifestyle. Even though it looks perfect from the outside, it actually drives you insane. This idea is also treated by David Lynch in a lot of his work.
She wore blue velvet.
But by the end of the song, we hear Thom in the background singing. Just like in the music video, he doesn't go through what he was thinking and saves himself. Because of this, the whole song gets a different meaning. Thom wants to take the quiet life. He wants the pretty house and the pretty garden. He wants to live. By the way, in the music video, Thom actually almost drowned himself. There wasn't any CGI or anything like that. He had to do that shit. After No Surprises, we have Lucky, the song I talked about in the beginning. No Surprises gives Lucky a whole other meaning now that Thom survived all of this. He's rebirthed and he's ready to start his life from the beginning. This time with a positive outlook in life. This positivity carries on to the last track of the album, The Tourist. The Tourist is basically the end credits of the whole thing. It talks about being a tourist, whoa, and traveling around the world, and not really absorbing anything. You're going everywhere so fast and seeing everything, but you need to slow down and enjoy life. The song was actually written by Johnny and it got included on the album at the last minute. Johnny was in a beautiful square in France on a sunny day and watching all these American tourists being wheeled around, frantically trying to see everything in 10 minutes. He was shocked at how these people could be in a place so beautiful and so special and not realize it because they weren't taking the time to just stop and look around. The thing I said at the start of the video about Airbag starting the album from the beginning again actually got confirmed in an interview in '97. Claire Klinder asked the band if the car spinning off in The Tourist fits back into the accident that brings Airbag. To which Thom responded, "Wow, that's great, absolutely right about the last song predicting the first, very interesting." And Johnny said, "Nobody has ever gotten that before, that's cool." Now, to summarize the whole thing, there's a reason why OK Computer gets talked about 20-30 years later, and it's not because Radiohead fans have amazing memes. Most of the album talks about issues that were there since the 90s. Capitalism, losing purpose in life, crooked politicians, I don't know, fucking airbags. But while everyone was excited about the new millennium and how great technology is gonna become, Thom accurately predicted that it was only gonna make our lives more miserable. Technology is the main reason why this generation is so isolated and lonely. And seeing how depression and loneliness are the main themes in a lot of Radiohead songs, it comes to no surprise that so many teenagers online absolutely love this band. This album and their whole discography becomes the only thing that brings them comfort, and I'm glad that 2 songs at the end give a sort of positive push to the listeners. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried my best to accurately describe what this album talks about, and yeah, this is my honest interpretation of it. Last time I got so political in a video was on the Morrissey one, and I got hate comments for like a month straight, and I still do. But I think I've reached a point where they don't faze me, so I just wanted to come out here and really talk about everything. Make sure to like and subscribe, check out the Patreon and Discord. I'm gonna try and not delay the other part another 8 months like I did with the first one. Kid A coming soon. I'll be recording for like 4 hours, subscribe.